Hello everyone, welcome back to Wanderfixed. I'm here with Nate and Eric. This week we are actually diving into some D&D horror stories.
I don't know. I never counted. I am not really a math guy, you know?
If you don't know us, we are huge nerds. Every single week we talk about things like D&D, to Magic the Gathering, to comic books, to real life history. We just love talking about a lot of different things, so as we dive into this, please make sure to like and subscribe and all the YouTuber nonsense.
We decided to talk a little bit about some D&D horror stories, just picking some up from the Reddit posts out there. I know some of us have had some amazing interactions in D&D, some emotional ones that made us cry, tears of joy, tears of sadness, and we just wanted to see what else was out there.
First off, before we get into like the public ones, do you guys have any D&D horror stories in your life? Because I definitely do. I have one. I can tell it shortly.
I know you. I know a couple of yours that are absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
Chad has shared some, and they are intense. I am fortunate enough. Most of the people that I've played with are actually Chad, Nate, and our friend group, and it's all been roses and sunshine for me. I think the worst experience I had was at like a game store. It was a one shot, and someone had just min-maxed their character to the point where no one else's character could do anything.
No, we all went to this. I think you need to preface this.
This is true.
Where we go to a game store, it's in the basement. It's super dark. There's like one light bulb on. There's like 3 people there.
This is our first time going to this particular game store. We had never been before.
It's their final session of the campaign, and they somehow let us join. They let us join. Not sure why.
Well, that was them being nice. I understand that part. It was mostly just this guy that.
Yeah, like there was one dude that was clearly really into the story, took notes, really cared. The other dude, he min-maxed his character so he could use magic missile to just insta-kill everything.
Yeah. For mine, and I'll tell it really shortly so we don't get into it too in depth. But basically, we came a slogan from it, which is that if you give a player a mech, and as if you give a mouse a cookie, and what happened was one player was given a mech that we were like level 3, by the way. This was also a world set in like World War II, so we were fighting Nazis, and it sounded cool. But then one player who has been notoriously not great, his brother was the DM, and so the brother gave him a mech that basically turned him into like a level 20 or 30 character where he could like wipe us easily. And then he had a mental breakdown, and he held all of our characters hostage and threatened to kill the characters, and then he threatened to off himself as well. And we were like, what is going on? He was not doing well, and we played until about 3 to 4 a.m. trying to solve this, and there was just no solving it because the player had a mech and just threatened to kill us if we didn't agree, because they could wipe us all out. And so that's mine, and it was not fun. That player no longer plays with us, so that is very good.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say it was a different one, but
What do you mean?
Guy from the D&D party breaking into your bedroom.
Oh yeah, that's a weird story. We don't need to get into that one.
Chad's unfortunately had a lot of interesting groups that he's played with.
Actually, I tell this to a lot of people. One of my coworkers, she was trying to get like a D&D group together for her husband, and I was like, the hardest part about D&D actually is finding the right group. If you get a stinker group, it is near impossible to like enjoy. You can try and find fun of it, but if either they're not interested because they're on their phones the whole time, or they're just like not interested because they don't care, or they're just creeps, which we're going to get into with some of these horror stories, it just ruins the whole experience. And I was like, that is the hardest part. I was telling her, and I was like, if you can find something, I'd love to help you look, but just knowing that like just finding random groups can sometimes ruin it for you.
Yeah, and like I was thinking, like the other hard part is the more people you add, the harder it is to keep that kind of like good group cohesion, or people are really vulnerable with each other, and there's enough time for everyone's characters to be developed. Because if you get to like 12 people, yeah, you're gonna get one turn every like 2 hours, and even if you have a really interesting character, like a chair that got brought to life by a wizard, you're never gonna learn anything about that guy's backstory because it'll be like 3 hours before he gets to speak again.
Yeah. What is your guys' preferred D&D size? I think mine is probably like 5 players. Oh, that might be too much. 4 players. 4 players, 1 DM. So 5 people in total, I think is the perfect for me.
4 to 6 for me, like including
6
DMs.
players or including. Okay. Six is
Six
getting a
players
lot.
is six players is the upper limit for me. 6 players is the upper limit because it just becomes too hard to keep track of everything and keep players' stories interesting and engaged.
Yeah.
The group that we normally play with is 6 players and 1 GM. And that does get to be a
It
lot.
does,
I love
yeah.
our group, but 6 plus a DM is the max, I think, for any real group.
And
I think
that
the
group
sweet
that we're
spot-
in used to have way more people.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
too much. Like I would walk away because it was actually an online D&D. This is a bad player habit. Don't do this. But I would still walk away and come back like almost a half hour or an hour later, and it still wasn't my turn. And so it's terrible.
This is the thing. It's why we've kind of been leaning into more role play heavy systems so we can be more engaged. Because when you get into combat, it can be super fun and interesting. But then with like 6 players, it's like cool 20 minutes between turns, and you're just kind of sitting there waiting. Especially if you're a class like a fighter or barbarian that you're just gonna be swinging.
Yeah.
And like the other guys, like the other 4 people are all playing wizards and they're consulting their spell books and everything. You're just like, dude, just let me smack something, please. It's been 20 minutes. I need rage.
Yeah, that's a whole other pet peeve of mine is when it gets to someone's turn and they're like, "Oh, wait, what's happening?" And then I'm like, "You should have been planning your turn. we can't be spending 20 minutes on each person's turn and they don't know what's happening."
So let's get into it.
Yeah, we got some crazy stories. We've all picked out a couple from various subreddits. Is it okay if I go first? I have one.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
This particular story is from the subreddit r/DND Horror Stories. The original poster is Salus_sketch. The title is I was kicked out of a campaign because Creep DM wanted to be the only guy at the table. Already, red flag if someone wants to be the only guy at the table.
Yeah.
But so this story was back in 2018. I was in college studying art for a 4-year bachelor's degree, and I had come to make some really great friends. One of these friends, who I will refer to as Ty, non-binary AFAB, and it's important going forward.
What's AFAB?
AFAB stands for assigned female at birth.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Used to talk about D&D, which I had never played before, so I was very curious to know more about the game, the lore, rules, etc.
This is already sad because it's what I was talking about earlier, where it's someone's first experience can be tainted, and that's what I always struggle with. You know, everyone's always like, "Oh, I want to play D&D, I want to do it. It sounds fun." But then if you just, like I mentioned before, get with that crappy group, it just ruins it. And I'm like, no, it can be the most fun thing ever. I promise. You just have to like find the right people.
Okay, first impressions are so important. Like, only tangentially related to this. My brother struggles to get into anime. He watched Attack on Titan and loved it, but I remember his first experience with anime is this one episode from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's like episode 4-ish.
Yeah, the dog.
It is. Yeah. If you know, you know. And imagine that's the first thing you ever see from anime ever. He was not interested going forward for a little bit, but we brought him back with Attack on Titan. And so if you have a bad first D&D experience, it could take years before you're even willing to give it another chance.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what I see with a lot of these horror stories, is it is people's first times, or like they're relatively new, so they don't fully know what to expect. So it can just be really frustrating. One day, Ty comes up to me and tells me about a small party they played with and got permission from the DM and other players to invite me in. They were early enough in that it wouldn't disrupt the flow of the campaign and allow me to learn the rules easily. I agreed, and we planned to have Ty pick me up, and we'd go to the DM's place to play. The night of the session came. The DM was dating one of the party members who lived with him. I noticed that the DM kept referring to his partner as she, her, which confused me as they introduced themselves to me as they, them. I was the new guy in the setting and had some social anxiety, so I didn't feel it smart to step on any toes about this, but I noticed the DM being kind of cold to me, and it only grew as the night went on. The other party members arrived who were also AFAB players. Everyone was very warm to me, asking me questions about my thoughts on the game or helping me build my character. I made a dwarven bard. It seems to be really good, but the DM always seemed annoyed, and I started noticing him giving me mean stares. I mentioned this to Ty at the end of the night when they drove me home. I wanted to know if I did something wrong. Ty had noticed and thought it was strange of the DM to act that way because he seemed so enthusiastic about having another player. I pointed out to them that maybe it's because I was another guy, which they brushed off as me overthinking. A few weeks had gone by, and the group chat was making plans for the next session. I and I were both very busy with projects, but we found a time that would work for us, and others agreed. But when the day came, my mom had to be taken to the hospital for a heart attack. She was okay and hasn't had them since. I messaged the group saying I couldn't make it, so I could go with her to the hospital. Everyone understood and also expressed their own reasons for needing to cancel, so we agreed to reschedule. Now, 2 days later...
I was just going to say, so far, the DM gives weird vibes, but the rest of the group seems chill.
Yeah. And we're about to get to the point where the DM shows his true colors. But so far, it seems like it's been fine. You know, a little awkward, but fine.
Yeah.
2 days later, I got a text from the DM. He has decided to kick me out of the group. His reasons were that I have been very tardy and missed every campaign. I was really confused by this message and pointed out to him that 1, I had only just started in the group in the 3rd session, and 2, I couldn't make the last session because my mom was in the hospital and others were also having to cancel because of work or school. His only response was, quote, "Please don't keep making excuses." I was kicked out of the group chat and the DM blocked me on everything. I talked to Ty about it and they were so confused and pissed. They were messaging everyone trying to understand what was going on. A few days go by and Ty told me that the DM's partner broke up with them a day after I was kicked out when they pressed him to explain why he would do this. He admitted he was jealous of there being another dude at the table and hoped that everyone would shun me so I would quit instead, but instead, they were talking to me and helping me out. He thought of the campaign as his little harem because he was surrounded by, according to his now ex, quote, so many hot girls who had to listen to him.
Frick, are you kidding?
Which
no!
I don't know why you would, even if that is like your internal monologue, I don't know why you would ever confess that. That is
it's because, okay, so this is really all around. This is just, there's something wrong with his head. Probably, and we'll go back to anime. Probably watched too much anime of like the harem animes where this is
too
giving
many
him
isekai. Too many isekai.
It's giving him power, and he feels the power. And it's like going to his head. That's so creepy.
Absolutely.
Like, can you imagine what this guy would be like? Not even just in D&D, but if he was like any high-ranking official at all.
Dude, like
such a disgusting.
It's also just like so insecure. Like a dude shows up, and immediately everything falls apart because oh no, there's another dude. They're infringing upon my fragile masculinity.
It's so weird to like just assume that because you have these people who are coming together to play a game with you, that means that they like look
they would
up
listen to you or like even interested in you romantically when you already are in what sounds like a monogamous relationship with someone else. That is just super weird to automatically assume that these people view you as this like alpha or whatever. Yeah, and we didn't even talk about all of the issues that I had in my D&D group, but we had 3. I have been through, and Nate and Eric are in my D&D group. This same D&D group had been through 3 creepos. We had 1 and 2 that liked one of the girls in our group, and then the 3rd one liked me, and it was a mess. That was what Nate mentioned before, where they broke into my bedroom and were waiting there, and I was like, this can't happen.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. Like, don't be creepy in D&D, please. Like, just play the game.
Yeah, like, I don't like these people. Typically speaking, want to be your friends as a way to socialize, have interactions. Just be chill.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
the
hard.
other thing.
It's really not that hard to just be a nice person and not make things awkward and weird when there's another person of the same sex there. Or when you're around people of the opposite sex. Like, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. And then the last thing I have to say, did we read that last paragraph before I say that?
We haven't read that.
Okay.
Let me read it real quick. I felt confused and disgusted. I just wanted to play D&D, and for a while I turned down offers from Ty and others to join new campaigns because it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm happy to say that I have continued to play and have been in a really fun group with my partner and our friends. There have been other horror stories from previous groups me and my partner were in, but that is for another time.
Okay, I have 2 points I'd love to bring up. Oh, go ahead, you finish.
Well, I was just gonna say, like we were talking about, it's so sad that this was this person's first introduction to the hobby, and it turned them off for a while because it was just horrible, just because one guy couldn't stand the thought of there being another dude around in the group.
Mm-hmm. My first thought was so many hot girls who had to listen to me. Can you imagine being those other people playing, and they see that message and they realize however long, I think it was only third session or whatever, but at least maybe they've been playing longer. But how gross you would feel realizing, oh, this guy thought I was listening to him and was like attracted to him. Like it would just put like like I don't know how they kept playing. I would feel so
not
disgusted.
Not only that, but it sounds like Ty and the DM's partner are non-binary. So the term girl isn't necessarily accurate, and that's super demeaning to just be like, oh, you don't actually like see me as the person that I've presented to you. You just see me as a woman, as an object. It's just so disgusting and frustrating.
I was also having 3 thoughts during this. One is they noted earlier that even though the person presents as they, them, and said that's like their preferred pronouns, the DM was still calling them she, her.
Was still using
weird. On the second hand, I'd be, if I was in a group and I got this message, I'd be, well, thank you for thinking I'm hot, but what the hell do you mean I'm listening and you're like controlling me? What's this? Like, get out of my, like, dude, no one controls me. This is supposed to be cooperative storytelling, us making a thing together, not you forcing me into your weird fetish.
It's just so frustrating to see DMs and GMs who don't understand what the dynamics between GM and player actually are.
Mm-hmm. My last point, and it's not super related, but it kind of made me think about it. What do you guys how do you handle? I mean, our group is very well done. That we have a lot of honesty and talking and stuff. But I know a lot of groups have this issue with like romance between characters. I mean, how is there a best way to handle that for players? Because obviously it can be awkward for people that don't want it. Is it just to be honest at all times? Obviously that's the real answer, but
I GM a lot for our group, and the rule that I have clearly communicated to everyone is if you want romance amongst PC, you have to figure that out between each other and then let me know. And if you want romance with an NPC, you have to tell me directly, otherwise I'm not going to try to force it.
Yeah.
Which I think is just there just needs to be communication, really.
Yeah, and if you're going to have like a real life romantic relationship with another player, then just recognize that is going to change the group dynamic a little bit, and be mature. If it doesn't end up working out, you just mature. Hopefully things can end, like mutually, and you can continue being friends. If not, just
I sometimes
that it
I
will
have a
change
pretty
the
strong
dynamic.
opinion. If we're talking about real life romances, I think that can break up groups. I don't know if that's possible to keep going.
That's what I
know
that's
a hard opinion. But
that's gonna be my last point. If you are gonna get in a real life romantic relationship, just be aware that it can end up breaking your group. Just you have to know that going in, because if you guys end up breaking up and it's not on good terms, or you just can't be around each other anymore, because
even if it's mutual,
or something,
even if it's mutual, that's hard, and that can be awkward.
Just either way, no, it might ruin the whole vibe you got going on. So maybe you don't. Luckily, in
moral of the story: don't be a creep. People aren't playing D&D with you. People aren't playing D&D because you're their master. They just want to have fun with you and all of their friends. Yeah. Okay, moving on to our next one. I picked this one, but it's a really short one, which is I kind of like because I still think it opens up a lot of possibility and talking points. Okay, so this is by Lord Batistis, almost Lord Batista, but not quite. And it's a really short one. I have watched hundreds of hours of Matt Mercer DMing and his players playing D&D. I probably know about the game more than you do. And Lord Batistas said, players sent this when something he didn't like happened in my game. This is obviously a really big thing, right? The Matt Mercer effect. It's kind of like this. People really just watch a lot of Critical Role or whatever it is, and they expect their DM to be Matt Mercer.
Well, not even just Critical Role, but this also happens with like Brennan Lee Mulligan and Abriga Eingar, and just like any D&D actual play.
Well, the thing is, like, people expect their DM, who's probably doing this for fun, for their friends as a hobby, who has a full-time job, possibly a family, other things they're doing, to have the same world-building, D&D etiquette, dungeon master skills as someone who does this as a full-time gig and as a professional voice actor, or improv comedian. You can't. It's never gonna happen.
Nate, you mentioned one thing earlier, which is a really good phrase. I think some people miss from D&D is that it's collaborative storytelling. The D&D is all about collaborative storytelling. Your DM can't be the only one pushing the story forward. be an interactive player and push the story forward. I like that top comment that says, "You, sir, are no Travis Willingham," because it's a really good point. That like, well, what are you doing as a player to help this story move forward and be interesting?
I will highlight Chad here for a bit. In a campaign I ran for the group, there was this moment where this villain gave this big monologue speech and everything. I was planning to have them set up to be an antagonist for a while. They were Chad's character's biological dad, who
Oh yeah,
Chad's character was. His PC had been stolen from birth and raised by a group of dwarf pirates.
my character
His
was
biology.
oh gosh, what are they called? The rabbit folk?
A herring.
Gone.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Captain Bramblebuck.
Yeah.
And so I had his bio dad kidnap his adoptive father to get revenge on his adoptive father, and he executed his adoptive father. Captain Bramblebuck didn't know his bio dad, was very upset at this, and even though I intended to have this guy exist for a while, he was just kind of like he was a rioter, an upstart, kind of figure, not a big combatant or anything. Chad hunted him down to the ends of the earth and executed him in such a vicious and cool manner with some amazing rolls. And I'm just sitting here, it's like, yeah, I didn't want this to happen. Me as the DM did not want this to happen, but I had to reward the player for their tenacity.
And it also made the story much more, I don't want to say interesting, but it did take it in an unexpected turn. Which again, like we're saying, it's a collaborative thing. You can't put all of the weight of the story and the game on the GM, because then it's just not going to be a good time for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, because all these people are professionals, they have a really good game sense of what works for story and what doesn't, more than you do, more than your DM does. And they might even have a tiny little bit of it scripted, honestly, just to help with flow and making sure they keep pace, because they're producing episodes every week, like seasons of a TV show.
Yeah. And before people say, how dare you say Critical Role is scripted, they've admitted several times that they have conversations off camera about what they want certain scenes to go like. And, you know, like, it's not entirely scripted, but they do know certain plot beats and how they're going to play out.
Bad, right? I mean, it's a show. At the end of the day...
I do, as a GM, I do that all the time with my players. I say, hey, I want this specific thing to happen for your character. How do you feel about that?
And you were really good at that. Because Eric and I had a conversation. My character was the son of hags, or adopted by hags. And I was like, I kind of want the long-term thing in the next couple, not long-term, this was actually towards the end of the campaign, but I was like, I kind of want my character to become like the god of magic, or be like, no, not god of magic, sorry, that's saying too much. I wanted to be born of magic or something, and that's what I find out. And, you know, and you were really cool about being like, yeah, we can make that happen.
And, like, at the same time, something that, like, I didn't expect to happen, but really helped with my character in that same campaign, is I was a delivery boy, running deliveries, once again, for pirates. Pirates seem to be a running theme here. And I was delivering packages all over town. Little did I know, these were magical artifacts to essentially create a magic circle that caused a nuke to blow up the city my family was in. It was horrible. And did I want that to happen? No, but it helped deepen my character and create these intense emotional story beats where the only other survivor from that city that I knew there was a friend ended up dying, and he just didn't want to come back when I tried to resurrect him because he'd rather be with his dead family in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Comforting to know the afterlife was real in that world.
Yeah.
That's always frustrating when people compare GMs, home GMs, to professional GMs. But
especially when, I mean, everyone's just trying their best. It's collaborative storytelling. Everyone's trying to have a good time. And then they hear that, it's kind of like oh, okay, well, bummer.
Also, once again, collaborative storytelling, communication, and also at the end of the day, your GM has their story to tell. They might fudge some rules. They might do something because it's better for the plot. Just accept it.
At the end of the day, it's just a game. It's just for everyone to have a good time. Yeah. Don't be an asshole about it.
Yeah. We're not trying to min-max and have you kill everything in sight. We're trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
Now, while we say this, I know there's a lot of people, and if someone watches this, there's probably going to be someone out there that disagrees and only min-maxes. How do you guys feel about that?
I think min-maxing has a time and place. I think it's really fun and satisfying as a player to go, I've built my character in such a way that if I do X, Y, and Z correctly, I automatically win. Obviously that's like really satisfying for a lot of people in terms of power fantasy, and D&D really helps support that. I do think that is something that needs to be discussed in like a session 0 amongst the table and say, hey, do we want our characters to be able to completely bulldoze everything, or do we want there to be some form of tension in each combat? Because there's different ways to handle that in a story, and there's ways to make them, these min-max characters feel super relevant when it comes to the story, and there's also ways as a GM to challenge your min-maxed characters by throwing things that they're not optimized for at them.
Yeah, because there's that hexblade, sorcerer, whatever the heck you're doing. But if you're doing that, I mean, if you come to me with a good backstory or reason for that, I think that can help. Okay, but you're a hexblade, and that means there's going to be a demon blade or whatever you have. But it doesn't just mean that you're overpowered. Now you're going to have some stuff maybe that'll happen with a demon blade that you have to figure out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it helps when there's a bit of a reason.
Gonna highlight Eric's DMing skills here. Like in a campaign, like I min-maxed just to make my character as fast as possible. That was the whole goal. Not actually being good at anything, just being as fast as possible. That end of the story is really interesting. Another character, I don't think intentionally, maybe it was, they could just persuade everyone to do anything he wanted. Gave him a bunch of weird deals to constantly make him in these weird contractual obligations with demons and devils and stuff, to force the guy who could make a deal with anyone to really consider the consequences of the deals he was making. So there's ways to make it work. It just depends on the campaign you're running. This one's called A Player So Unlikable That a Charismatic Character Was Unbelievable. And it's by Infinite One Corridor. Hello, RPG Horror Stories. Today I bring a short story and a question. The story is fairly short, and I am being a bit vague here, as I don't want to write out the several pages of lore and backstories that would be needed to contextualize every single character interaction. The story is a bit of an example because I am curious if anyone else has ever encountered this dissonance of character and player. My story is fairly simple. A couple friends and I recruited a few unknowns from a forum to play a game with us. With my friends and I having played together for the better part of a decade, one of these previously unknown players proved to be a bit of a problem, and I'm going to be calling this person Player X. I will be referring to their character as Character X in this story. We were playing in a superhero setting, where our characters were delinquents on probation at a high school for superheroes. Character X was a preppy, popular rich girl with criminal parents. During session 0 and before the game started, there didn't seem to be any issues, but those issues started to immediately crop up when we started playing. Player X did not seem to grasp that even though popular girls in high school are often archetypically bitchy and fake, that having their character talk to everyone as if they were a small child and imply other characters were stupid to their face would not make them like her very much. Early in the game, Character X began to almost immediately start speaking in this way to my character, and later escalated the character conflict by attempting to publicly humiliate him in a pretty nasty way in front of the whole school at a party she was throwing. My character, who was intended to be volatile and a bit of a punk, responded by throwing hands, and later confronted Character X and demanded what her problem was. Character X was evasive and refused to answer. Player X then complained out of session about the conflict, stating that it was no longer fun for them.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. I gotta interrupt you there. You can't start shit and then complain when it hits the fan. Like, we'll get into it a lot more. I think you can play an asshole character and have them be
We've had a lot
for
of
the whole table.
Yeah, I agree. We've had some asshole characters that ended up being the best.
I.e. Evergold. In our mass campaign.
Yeah. My current character
is my character's bully. He bullies me for we're not finished with the campaign yet, but we start off in high school and he is my bully. He is like shoving me in lockers and stuff.
Yeah, and now our characters are friends, but I always tried to make sure that you were laughing or smiling when I did. I was trying to, watch your body language and make sure nothing was too much.
And obviously communication as to what is happening. But the thing that just pisses me off is you can't start a conflict and then complain when it becomes a conflict.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to, the simple answer is remembering communication, which seems so simple, but for some reason people cannot. And then the second one is the collaborative storytelling. Most people, for some reason, take D&D as like a power fantasy, and so they get this kind of power fantasy of being this, popular girl, I guess, that is humiliating other people. But then when it kind of comes back around them, they're like, I'm not interested. They can't, can dish it but can't take it, kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's definitely interesting, and also this is why in some cases I recommend vetting before bringing someone in the D&D group,
Yeah.
just because like already red flags when you're picking random people online you've never met before because you don't know what they're like in real life. Not saying it can't work, not saying you shouldn't do it,
But there
maybe
is more potential for there to be just for them not to match the vibe.
yeah, maybe play a one shot with them before bringing them into a full campaign.
Or at the very least, have a very in-depth session 0 where you're going over, hey, this is what I want my character to be like. This is how I want them to interact with people. How do we feel about that? Is it okay if we approach these subjects in this way? Like, how do we feel about X character interacting with Y character? And what happens if my character's a bit of an asshole and your character's a bit of an asshole back to me? Like, are we okay with that dynamic?
Yeah. Like, I think we have a great system in our session 0 with like lines and veils. Like, what are things that we just don't touch, too uncomfortable people don't want to do, and what are things we can allude to but don't want to like maybe go into in depth on. And I'm very much, please hurt me. I want to cry. I want the DM to hurt my character. I want character development. Please make my life miserable so I can grow. And so Chad and Eric like secretly planned for Chad to be my bully, and me as a player, like you know how a mask works. You pick a playbook and it has different things you gotta fill out, and I picked one that I have to pick a rival, and so I didn't know who. I was like, I told Eric, let's just have someone at school bully me. Like, I'll just do that. And then he picked Chad, and they kept it a secret, and it was so funny, honestly, when I'm getting shoved in a locker and it's Chad doing it to me.
Yeah, and Nate didn't know that quite yet. It was kind of good.
Yeah, it was very funny. Like, I got shoved in a locker, and it's like, now Chad, reveal your character.
Yeah.
This is completely fine. Sometimes OOC conflict can get a bit hotter than intended, and things can be worked out. OOC. I attempted to explain what my character was feeling, saying that because of a previously established connection where our characters were supposed to be on good terms, he felt betrayed by character X, and that my character would probably apologize and forget about the whole thing if character X tried to meet him in the middle. Sounds good. To which player X refused, as their character hadn't done anything nearly comparable. The GM then stepped in and ruled that they would just minimally interact for a session or two, we'd time skip, and they'd forget about it and be cool, like a lot of teenagers do. We both seemingly agreed. The next day, I woke up to a full-page message in my DMs where Player X explained to me in the most condescending and passive-aggressive way possible that they did not consent to the way my character framed the incident and demanded that I respect their non-negotiable boundaries, that they control their own character, and that I rewrite my portion of my character's backstory that included our characters being on good terms. I sent the message to my GM and let them handle it. Player X was told to just let the situation go, and they half complied, albeit still making some pretty nasty remarks about my character and referencing the incident once or twice. This wasn't a major... Okay, I disagree. This wasn't a major red flag.
I think that is a major red flag to have a disagreement on boundaries and have someone be completely unwilling. Like I definitely...
I get what they're saying, though.
I understand why Player X would want their character treated in a certain way and have the story flow a certain way for their character, but again, it's collaborative. You have to be willing to give and take.
Well, this is why the saying that's what my character would do is kind of a dangerous one. I obviously understand sometimes, like with Nate's, where I killed my character's father and I killed my adopted father. It's just what my character would do, but at the same time, look around and make sure that you're not kind of destroying what's happening with the other players. Because there's a lot of like with the give the character a mech or issues like that where it's what my character would do. He's gonna cause a TPK. It was like, is that the right thing to do? Sometimes I think the story and people around you in real life matter a little bit more than what your character would do.
You just because... Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I was just gonna say, you need to remember that your character isn't the only main character. Yes. There's other people at the table who want their story to be told, and you guys have to figure out how your stories get told together.
Yeah.
And just because that's what your character would do doesn't mean it's the only thing they would do. There are other things they could do that would still be in line for your character.
Yeah.
Like your character, and like just using this as an example. Okay, cool. You guys had a fight. Instead of making him rewrite the whole backstory, maybe have this be like a breaking point in their relationship that forces them to like come to terms and grow and change as a character.
This could have been a really... I was just gonna say, it could have been a really interesting thing in character to have character X go, like, oh, you thought that we were fine, but you really secretly hurt me in this way, and then build on that. Have the conflict stay in character, but have it build on the story.
As character X seemed to behave comparably with a plurality of the other characters in the game, at one point character X reported an NPC classmate and rival to school administration for bullying and essentially got her months of detention. Immediately afterwards, character X attempted to get the hero team of this NPC character to embark on a mission without the other PCs, and was surprised when they did not want to comply, despite barely knowing her, other than that she got their teammate put in eternal detention. She then called them cowards and losers, and was surprised that this did not motivate them to change their minds. Feels very Mean Girls.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also. I think perhaps this player has watched a bit too much anime as well, and is thinking, oh, this absolutely degrading pep talk is gonna motivate them, and then it doesn't.
Yeah. That makes sense. And on another occasion, character X, in a scheme I still fail to understand, got another classmate nearly killed and seriously injured. After said scheme, character X tried to have a sleepover with the principal's ward, another player character who was also in trouble for unrelated shenanigans, and claimed they needed to stay with them because she did not feel safe at home. The principal demanded a further explanation, and character X refused to elaborate, both on their scheme that nearly killed a classmate and feeling in danger. They were not allowed a sleepover, and when character X escalated a fight with the principal, calling her an evil C word, I'm not going to say that, among other things, were very surprised when character X was threatened with detainment. On both occasions, and several others, player X complained out of character about these incidents, and seemed to be surprised when the other players did not agree about the injustice of the situation. Well, I just got a point. You didn't explain anything. Like, in our games, if we have some weird scheme going on, and no one's understanding it, we'll usually pause for a moment and kind of like, hey, what are you actually trying to do? What's the goal here? And then if it makes sense for like character reasons, story development, whatever, we'll try to figure out a way to make it work. But if you're just going to go around murdering people and not explain why, that's just not good.
Yeah.
That's murder hobo.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, from the principal's perspective in game, and now if I'm understanding this right, she claimed she refused to stay with them because she did not feel safe at home. Wouldn't a principal like immediately be calling CPS, like Child Protective Services?
It
Yeah.
feels like a lot of the people in this play group maybe don't fully understand the story that each other is trying to tell. It feels like there could have been a lot more communication between the players and the GM as to what exactly is happening.
Once again, have a session 0 talk about tone. Are we wanting the grim dark of 40K, or are we wanting a nice bed and breakfast in the Shire? We have to kind of figure this out beforehand, or else we have one guy playing the Doomslayer and another one's Bilbo Baggins, and they just don't mesh together.
Although I would watch that crossover.
I would too. That would be so fire. What the heck?
I feel like Bilbo would just be hiding in a corner praying that someone saves him.
Bilbo,
okay.
Bilbo, okay. Dragons?
Yeah, he did. Okay, yes. But here's the thing. Doomslayer would single-handedly save Middle-earth by walking up to Smaug, ripping him in half, then marching down to Barad-dûr and ripping Sauron's lidless eye from his tower socket for breakfast. And then he would go about just...
Yeah, but Bilbo would still join him for the journey, you know? He's going on an adventure.
Bilbo will be invisible and cheering him on from a safe and respectable distance.
No. Bilbo
They would just actually keep cutting to Bilbo.
The
They would keep cutting to Bilbo, and it's just him smoking in his house.
yeah.
And just not doing anything.
Yeah, so what would happen is just like in the books and in the movie they do this as well. Bilbo will be sitting there watching, dumbfounded, get hit in the head with a brick, get knocked out, wake up, and every villain in Middle-earth will be dead, and he'll just be like, huh, I guess I go home now. So on to the next paragraph. The thing about Player X is that they behaved in a way very similar to their character, speaking with the same condescending tone and phrasing that their character did.
Just a little self-insert, I guess.
Yeah. They also would complain about the GM when the GM was not in call, criticizing that the GM wasn't yes-anding enough and that the other characters were receiving preferential treatment. When anyone else would try to explain why they were receiving the reaction they got, they were apparently shocked and argued why character X was actually in the right. Main character syndrome. The game fell apart shortly after for semi-related reasons, but I still wonder if Player X genuinely believed that the character they were playing was likable in any way. And now they have a question for everyone. I think it's very possible for someone who doesn't have a lot of charisma out of character to play a charismatic character, as things that can inform
That's not charisma, though. There's a difference between
Yeah.
charisma and just being a jerk, right? Am I crazy? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
no,
not charisma.
Like, for example, for those that have like seen Attack on Titan, Erwin's speech, that is charisma. That makes me want to die for a man. But if you just walk up and insult me, throw my friend in jail, and then insult me some more, and then expect me to follow you into the fires of hell, yeah, not happening. I'm sorry, you're a jerk. Like, there's nothing I'm gonna do for you.
No natural 20 is gonna save that.
You can be very unlikable, both player and character, and still be very charismatic. I don't think charisma has anything to do with how likable you are, though. That's a completely different area. Charisma mostly boils down to how capable you are of getting people to do what you want them to do just by talking. And you again, it's collaborative. You have to communicate. You have to give and take. You can't expect the entire world to bend to your every whim.
Yeah, like looking at here, it says like things that can inform charisma, like social confidence, quick thinking, and good interpersonal instincts, and even more superficial things like eye contact and body language, are less of an issue when role playing. I think they still matter, but it's true. Like if you're playing a bard and you're rolling a d20 to like persuade someone or seduce the dragon, depending on the campaign you're running, yeah, like how good you are at actually like doing things won't matter as much, depending on how you're playing the game. But then they follow it up here. However, when the player is someone who genuinely doesn't see the reason why calling a bunch of people you barely know cowards and bitches wouldn't motivate them to assist you in a potentially dangerous task, I think it might actually be impossible for that person to play a charismatic or likable character. Has anyone else played with someone where the player was so devoid of charisma that it carried over to their character?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I have quite a bit.
Yeah.
Me!
Well, I think, yeah, I'm not sure charisma is the right issue this person has. This person has main character syndrome and a lack of ability to see past their nose. And I think that's really important. Before, when we were mentioning that my character bullied Nate's character, I was really looking and making sure Nate was having a good time. And I think that's the same for DMs and other stuff. If you can look at people's body language and look, if you do something to that character and they go, oh, okay, that was not a good move probably. But if they go, that's crazy. What? That was so fun. Let's do that. Yeah. You know, you can just kind of tell whether someone is having a good time or not. And I feel like that's something that this player X is obviously missing, and a lot of characters and people, I say characters, but real life people miss on these RPG horror stories.
Yeah, like I was running a game and I originally had this character that I intended to betray everyone. But based on like me knowing my players, their personal life stories and everything, and how things were going, I decided to completely pivot and change everything because it worked better for the story and to give them a redemption arc rather than have them be this conniving, evil, traitorous leech. And so, and it ended up making it a much more memorable and good campaign. I think one of the things a lot of people miss is you have to be malleable, adaptable to what's going on. A little bit of improv is needed for D&D.
Very first things that they teach you in any kind of writing class is kill your darlings. You know, you can't get too attached to certain plot beats or character elements because at the end of the day,
collaborative storytelling.
It might not make the story interesting.
Wait, what'd you say, Chad?
Collaborative storytelling. I was just...
yeah. For storytelling in general, but because it and especially when it comes to TTRPGs, because at the end of the day, you are telling a story, but it's first and foremost a game. It is there for people to have a good time, to have some sort of socialization, some form of, release, de-stress, whatever. You can't make it all about you. Yeah. And if you do, then that's just going to make it horrible for everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right, we have one last one.
Okay.
I'm very scared based off of the title.
We're going to wrap up. Chad brought this one to our attention, okay? We have not read it.
Please read the title first.
Yeah. And this is an Am I the Asshole thread from Horse Brothel LLC. I
think this might be fake then, given who it's from. But yes, read the title.
Yeah. Oh, so it's either fake or this guy made it specifically for this story. Not sure. We haven't read it.
What does LLC mean?
It's shorthand for some corporation, something.
Licensing contract,
Yeah.
something or another. The asshole for not letting my D&D players run a horse brothel. I DM for a party of 9, so needless to say, things get a little hectic. So when my party's druid came up with an idea to get them some easy coin, I was caught a little off guard. The party just made it to one of the largest cities in my homebrew world, think Waterdeep. The druid asked me if there are a lot of people in the city, would the market for people who are interested in a brothel service be bigger? Naturally, I said yes, assuming he planned on going to a brothel. He said offered to work in the brothel for a day, assuring the owner maximum profit. With a high charisma roll, the owner agreed and gave the druid a room. The druid then revealed his hand. This whole time he planned on using conjure animals in combination with wild shape to summon a militia of horses with the sole purpose of pleasuring the freaks of my city. This shook me to my core. Almost an hour of arguing with my players, who all jumped on the bandwagon against me. My druid told me he was putting his hoof down and I was ruining his fun. He said if I don't let him get that bag, he would permanently leave the campaign. Still, I refused, and he stormed out of the room and later blocked my phone number, ending a 6-year friendship.
Okay, so a lot of questions here. Obviously, their name is Horse Brothel, so maybe that invalidates the story, or they created that title just to do this post. I know a lot of people are like, "This is my throwaway account, so I don't have other people looking at my stuff." So I'm gonna go off of the expectation that this is a throwaway account. That they didn't want to, because there's more to talk about, unless if it's not just fake.
Okay. Look, I've had a campaign where someone literally was a cannibal and went to a brothel so they could eat someone. Like, weird things happen, okay?
I have not heard this story from you before. What the hell?
It was like a very short campaign, didn't last long. But
we can talk about that more later.
Yeah. But like the point being, the fact that a player wants to go to the brothel, a little weird if you allowed in your campaign, whatever. The horse thing is weird.
Going to brothel is a bad thing. I do think the horse thing is weird. I mean, bestiality.
Well, again, it's back to like having that session 0, making sure all characters are happy with it.
I think regardless of what's said in session 0, bestiality is usually a good hard no.
No, but you mentioned that I don't think going to a brothel is bad. I was going back to that.
Oh, that's fair.
Just a brothel in general.
Yeah.
That is a session 0 discussion.
Now, if I were the DM in this scenario, what I would say is, cool, you guys can do this. We're doing a time skip. Here's your money. Moving on. We're never talking about this again. Like...
Well, yeah. I mean, yes and no. If even one person is uncomfortable at the table in regards to anything sexual in sexual nature, I think that should just be a hard let's table this. If you guys really want to, we can discuss this after game and maybe approach it next session.
Yeah. Now, the only reason I say so is because my players who all jumped on the bandwagon against me. In a group where you've discussed beforehand and people are uncomfortable,
but the issue with that is the DM is one of the people that can decide.
The GM is still a part of the party. And so if they're uncomfortable running that, you have to respect that, I feel.
That's true. That's definitely
and again,
true.
this just goes back to like the power fantasy / fetishization, where they just want to play their fetish in real life. Like, it's just like, I don't know.
I think it could have been played off very funnily if they opened this horse brothel and the only customers were like centaurs. I still think it would have been gross and weird, but
I just genuinely thought this dude was gonna start like druid turn into a horse and try to like breed race horses or something weird. Like
I don't even know what was going through this player's mind. That's insane that they had a plan to open a horse brothel.
And it wasn't for like other horses; it was for the freaks of the city. Just like
including the player. It's a barely disguised fetish. Like, I mean, not even disguised. It's just a fetish.
So once again, communication, collaborative storytelling, session 0. Please discuss these things beforehand, so you don't get like 3-4 months into a campaign and then all of a sudden you end a 6-year friendship.
Yeah. And the most important rule at the end of the day, as we're learning from these, is don't be a creep. Just look at people's body language. Look at how they're reacting with their face. Are they enjoying what's going on? And if one player isn't enjoying it, or if they're brave enough to speak out like this DM, listen to it.
If you are someone that struggles with that kind of stuff, then just communicate, talk.
With horse bestiality? Or?
No, I'm talking like reading body language. Like if you struggle to read body language, you struggle to like read social cues, different things like that. open and honest communication with, because this is supposed to be a safe environment for you to tell stories with your friends. Talk to them, ask them, be like, hey, is what my character is doing, is that okay with you guys? Is this working? Are you having fun? And just be honest, be like, hey, yeah, I'm having a good time with you, but this one thing is bothering me. Can we work on that? Awesome. Rework your character a little. You can still be the same character, but maybe instead of horse brothels, it's something else. I don't know, like
Horse riding lessons for kids.
Horse.
Yeah.
You love horses. Yeah, you as a druid become a horse and offer a taxi service to people. I don't know.
Mm.
I think this is a very good lesson in the do's and don'ts of incorporating your desires into a game.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun reading these stories with you guys. Thank you so much for sharing them. Thank you, all of you, for listening to them if you've gotten this far. Yeah, if you have your own horror stories, let us know in the comments. We would love to maybe do a follow-up video where we read your own horror stories and see, what other lessons we can learn about how to be a good player or GM, or just not an asshole.
Yeah.
And alternatively, if you actually have like some really wholesome, cool stories you'd love to share that are like more heartwarming and uplifting, we'd love those too, because most of the threads are just about horror stories. I'd love to hear the opposite.
Yeah,
Tell me
I
your
agree.
stories of glory and love and passion. Tell me what makes it fun to play D&D.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next time on whatever the heck we're doing next.
Be sure to smack that like button and slap that follow button.
Make sure to
Couldn't
subscribe
have
if
said
you
it
want to
better
see us
myself.
again.
Yeah. All right. See you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.